Birds, birds. As your mum said, I could eat your brains. And my mum said I could watch it. Hello. Welcome to today's episode of My Mum Said I Could Watch It. Apparently these intros are really cringe and I should get a green screen. So thank you very much for the feedback on that. One, right, to the first statement. And two, I'm not getting a green screen. When that's the other guys with the YOLO yodels and the likes and subscribes and all of that stuff. And I'm sure they've got video clips of what they want to talk over in that really streamlined, monotone way. This is life. This is vocational life. You're not going to have to watch an ad break. I've got 9 minutes or so. I'm going to talk about Return of the Living Dead. Hence the whole sort of like brains bit. As for a green screen, I don't need green screen. See this? That's just reality. That's just reality of being a human being. Now, as opposed to a zombie, stylized zombie, which brings us quite adroitly to 1986. 1986 would have been when I saw Return of the Living Dead. It would have been a corner shop rental. It was indeed a very momentous occasion for me when I rented Return of the Living Dead. Firstly, as I now know retrospectively, it was the first time I was consciously aware of art. Later on I would understand that this was the amazing Vestron video box art by Graham Humphries. Graham Humphries, who is known for many amazing genre works, but we try and stick to the time. I just went, wow, that looks awesome. It was also the first time now, as much as my mum said I could watch it, she'd never watch any of these films with me. Otherwise, the answer would have been a very categorical no. It just is a question of the work-life balance that we had in the house of the Deb. But Brian's dad shoved the video box at me and did similar to what I did at the beginning. Goes, and Brian's dad said, we are going to watch this. Brian's dad not only chose the film, but consciously was going to watch the film with his 11-year-old son, and then told me about Night of the Living Dead, which I hadn't seen. I had a large problem with for many years of going like, people surely wouldn't be that stupid and understand that teamwork is the only way to survive this. That lasted until about my 20s, and she broke my heart. The point being, Return of the Living Dead was my first zombie flick. So when people complain about zombie movies, this is going to be my barometer of what a zombie film should be. Dan O'Bannon has done a really good job in this film. The idea of the hyperbole and the stylistic rock of the zombies is actually not as big as I recalled. I mean, obviously there is the visceral sense, a fantastic scene. I'm a big fan of popping out of graves, as I'm sure you already know. But the skeleton coming out there, the animatronics used, really did give me the heebie-jeebies. But there was a lot there that I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have recognized that those butterflies starting to flutter again, that this is a reanimating agent. They are fast zombies. They are out of the grave zombies. It's not a viral infection. You can become a zombie, but it's Walking Dead level. You just become a zombie that much faster. The addiction to brains in particular, as to just being cannibals, comes right to the fore in this as well. Dan O'Bannon's, I found out now, the bit that always really made me go was the send more cops scene. How does that happen? Well, of course, I know now that was the original ending of Alien, is that the monster would do that. Aliens, incidentally, is one of my top 5 zombie movies. But again, that falls into another bracket. The kids in this film are... I used to think they were ridiculous and hyperbolic, but having had a day job recently dealing with sadly teenagers, that is actually quite realistic as what can happen if kids are left just absolutely neglected. Yes, they will just run around like that. Yes, they will just strip off. I mean, I'm surprised they just didn't leave vape canisters all over the cemetery if it was 2023. I myself have found headphones. Yeah, I used to work in a in a college, and I found headphones that could only be described as having bite marks in them out of sheer boredom. So yeah, the kids themselves are very, very much what's there. There is a sort of mix and a nice level of twist. Suicide, for example, Linnea Quigley's throwing herself all over him, and he's not that interested. He's not that interested. He's going respect for the dead. Now he's got this whole I'm a poet warrior thing while dressed up as Kurgan. Doesn't really work out for him. Spider, I think, is very notable as well, being the only prominent black actor, and also the only actor in this film who really, actually, it also throws the fire in the black actor will die in the first act. He gets to the end. Not only does he get to the end, he's the only one who's got any sense of teamwork and any sense of loyalty. He wants to go back and save his friends. He doesn't want to bail in the car. And when they're escaping from the zombie monster, Tar Man and so on, at least he understands that maybe locking the door behind them would be a good move. Everyone else is just, macchiatos, I just want to live on an asparagus farm. Hipster kind of thing. Linnea Quigley's character, incidentally, did fascinate me. Not in that way. Charlie Bond is banned from the comments. My interest in leggings is completely coincidental. I was too young to see the allure as such. I just went, oh, it's boobs, right? But after she becomes zombified, that's the fascinating part to me, because when you watch her transformation of assurance and power and just and she literally naked power, it is intimidating. It is a strong, composed, intimidating woman, zombie woman, so maybe female form. Now I understand that there is lots of people who, when in those days, would have totally ruined a copy of Fangoria looking at stills from a transformation. But that is once you've created an object that is not in motion and that you can control by the monthly mag that you've just ruined, and could have bought probably a Blu-ray with it. But well done for you having that need for power. But it is just shark-like presence that she's able to bring to those scenes. The military scenes play off well, and the blue-collar element of the adults that we see in this film. It is an old boys network. Often when we hear old boys network, we think of Parliament and we think of Congress and we think of all these elements. But no, that level of neglect and covering up for each other is so interseen in that bro of this blue-collar world. You do see what's going on there. And they are just regular guys. They're not particularly dim, but they're not particularly arid either. They definitely respond to the hierarchies. And ultimately, they suffer for it. Once you find the army, that's it. That's the end of the story. The humor's well-paced in terms of the slapstick of it as well. They embrace the absurdity as well as the horror. It really is a true horror comedy. I think the irony of Linnea's character wanting to be like stripped and then eaten alive and then being stripped and eaten alive works. The boyfriend who turns bad just because he wants to eat your brains. The old guys who are just, carrying out for each other, looking out for each other, but really just there to try and cash a pension and feel a little bit cool. I think the film really does hold up incredibly well. I think its pace is just quite frantic. I think it's a lot more to be said, particularly about Spider. As I say, I get the feeling that he wasn't going to be one of these wasteful dropouts, as frankly the rest of the Pale of Persuasion of the team was. It's just that's where he found himself relegated. His leadership skills come in, and the others can afford, in a sense, to be as daft as they are throughout most of their lives. They do try and do the right thing. They do try and prevent the zombie stuff from rising. But as waves of cops and paramedics are just basically fed into the mincemeat machine of this consumerist zombie undead. Actually, I think that's a good way to see it in this film. They are like Alien. You can see it in Alien and Aliens. Dan's works there. They are just there to consume and destroy. I think it's taught film. I think it is definitely much more energetic. It's not as somber as the Romero films, but frankly, I would watch this over Day of any day. I'll probably touch on Day of at some point, but really, for the Day of the Dead, you want to return to the living. That was really good. I'm going to leave it there because I can't top that. You have a pleasant night and no more frights. Hold on to your brains.